our perception, thank you, is coming from our limited perception, very limited, So, our ideas from the mind are based on, our life experience, cultural conditioning, all of that stuff. And so if we buy into the meaning, then
it shapes our reality.
Yes, and maybe keeps it small. So if I try my best to really live in I don't know.
Wonder?
I don't know. Yes, just in oh my gosh, what do I know? Hey, you guys, we're here.
Hello.
And we're just, Maryna. Maryna and I just met like 7 or 8 generations ago, and
no big deal.
No big deal. And so we've been talking about life and love and her experience and the work that she's done, which is amazing. And are you 30 yet?
No.
This is really cool. So you've been at this, how many years have you been when did you wake up and say, what the hell is going on here?
16, so 10 years ago.
Wow. So 16, you said, there must be something else.
Yeah, during an overdose. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like an overdose, a drug overdose. Yeah. And you're in the hospital? Or
no?
They put you in the corner somewhere?
In a tent, by myself in the middle of the night.
Just leave her there.
I was like, if I don't die, there has to be something more to my life.
Good for you. Yeah. Were you at a festival? Or?
Motion Notion.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Camp right beside the main stage. Dark side, full on, by myself in a tent full of wet shit from the rainstorm the night before. Abandoned by everybody.
It felt that way.
It did feel that way.
Yeah.
And who I was camping with, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. You were probably tough to be with.
I wasn't actually, but nobody wanted to give me the time of day. And I'm not saying this from a victim place, but that's just how it felt to me. So.
Which is good. You needed to get to almost that hopeless place to have a transformation.
Exactly. Rock bottom is a magical place. Very
no kidding.
Magical.
So did you start to read and study and since then?
Yeah, that's I was curious about crystals and then went full on into crystals and Buddhism, studied Buddhism with some monks and read some books.
Where monks from Calgary?
They came here, like Geshe Yongdong, and there was another Lama, what's his face? They just came for weekend retreats.
Yes.
So I just catch them when they come to Yoga MCC
in
Marda Loop.
Yes. Jody.
Yeah. Jody when she owned it, yeah.
Yes.
So I just go to those and get super inspired, and then that got my wheel turning on how do I end the suffering that I keep experiencing? Why am I so depressed? Why do I keep on attracting people that are so hurtful and destructive to me? You know what I mean? I'm so sick of being so sick. Yes. Mentally, emotionally, and physically.
And spiritually.
Feeling so disconnected. You said, that hole.
The spirituality
was so big.
Once we find our spiritual connection, the other stuff seems to heal itself, doesn't it?
Less relevance because you're grounded in something so much higher than yourself.
Yeah.
It's yourself.
Yeah. So our fear of financial insecurity or fear of being alone or fear all kind of disappears once we find that belief or that connection. It's not even a belief, it's a knowing because we felt it, we experienced it, a spiritual experience.
It's like that one quote, it's none of us are actually seeking happiness, we're just seeking purpose. And through spirituality, we get a higher purpose and understand why we're actually here. So we're no longer just trying to find remedies to be happy and content. We find that through fulfilling a higher purpose that we realize we actually have. And that's what's actually fulfilling.
So, can you share your purpose?
In an umbrella term, in a nutshell, I just know I'm here to, like most of us are, to serve humanity and elevate the consciousness of the planet and then help the earth not transcend, but ascend to 5D consciousness, helping people shift from me to we, helping us co-create a better reality, transcend old paradigms of limited living and limited thinking on an individual plane. And I just know I'm here to help people dive into their shit, their deepest shit, so they can fully accept themselves and evolve out of living small, basically living
Wow.
a small reality.
Wow.
Like, aren't we all, like, I feel like we're all, like, if you're on a spiritual path, you're here to make your pain your purpose and your message, right?
So yes, but you articulate really, really well. Yes, what you're saying is, I yes, and you say it beautifully.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. I
yeah.
feel like I mean,
Well, no, you didn't just wake up one day and have these words. This came through a process of searching and looking and reading and studying. I mean, have to, you know. I congratulate you.
thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm glad we vibe. Yeah.
Fun. So, what are you doing? You were just talking to us about that you made this jump to become an entrepreneur, but really what it sounds like is you've made this jump to do what you just said, your life purpose, on a full-time basis.
Yep.
And maybe you can help me, because I think I've just made this jump as well, which is funny, you know, after 40 years of studying and doing the work and going to workshops and living to learn. You know, I finally said, you know, the heck with traditional business. I'm going to. This is my full-time gig. I'm not sure how to monetize the whole thing.
That's a whole process in itself.
Isn't it? Yeah. So tell us how you're doing with that and what you're doing.
Everything starts on the energetic level, right? So basically, like, the background story to me even taking this leap in the first place is because internally I declared that I'm finally ready to transcend all the mental and energetic frameworks that I've built my life upon that revolved around scarcity and finding worth through doing. So, like, while I've been working on my own shit per se for the last forever, I finally got to the point to being like, holy crap, like, I finally identified like the core foundational beliefs and life strategies that I was like buying into and subscribing to regularly that have made me constantly end up in overwhelm, overdoing. I've been living like the workaholic life for the last 4 years, where I got medical burnout every January that I had to recover from literally for 3 to 6 months on herbs and practices every year, because I just kept on taking on so much, like constantly choosing to allow myself to drown in debilitating perfectionism. I was like completing a double major degree, simultaneously working a corporate job, did a year-long yoga teacher training every fucking year for 5 years while working, teaching yoga, teaching private yoga, doing workshops, and trying to build my business. And then finally I was like, why am I constantly ending up in overwhelm and burnout? And then of course underneath all of that was like, oh, because I think all my worth is related to what I do for the world and how much I'm constantly self-actualizing, and that like without me doing, I actually am nothing and have nothing to offer, because that's kind of like how I was raised, and like nothing on my parents, but that's how they were raised, right?
Yes.
Like based on like your success and your worth is based on what you bring into the world and how much you work and how much
your
money
achievements
you have.
and yeah, sure.
And so like I was just so sick of being overwhelmed and burned out that I wanted to get to the root of that, and the root of that was that like I felt worthless and undeserving unless I was achieving all the time. And then
I have no idea what you're talking about.
and
I'm kidding. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like subscribing to scarcity, that like nothing I do is ever enough, nothing I am is ever enough, and like that I'll only find fulfillment through these superficial ways of being, of doing all the time. And I was like, okay, something's gotta give. I'm gonna get so sick. And like the universe always hits you with a metaphor or a 2x4, right? Like with through your intuition. And I was skipping all the signs until I started getting physically sick, got a concussion, would break a bunch of toes, kept getting the signs to like slow the fuck down and analyze what's making me act like this all the fucking time. Anyways, finally, I was like, holy shit, I'm operating on scarcity all the time. I'm operating on not enough. I'm operating on not worthy. And like, I don't even know how to feel fulfilled in my life. And I was like, I'm ready to break those constructs down forever. And basically the remedy to that is have faith, have trust. And like, I really like the human experience is so complex. I don't want to put it out there, but it really is. Like, we're living polarities simultaneously around one subject all the fucking time. Like, a part of me is like, holy shit, I am so aligned. I am God in every cell of my being. I'm a servant of God all the time. I feel so connected. I know I have this higher purpose. I'm connected to like all of these other species here to assist with this planet's evolution, while simultaneously I am crumbling under the pressure of surviving and my own self-judgments and perfectionism and debilitating ways of being, where I'm like scrambling by, like living like there is no God, like I don't trust the universe, that I have no faith, and then like knowing having the same awareness at the same time that I'm like, holy shit, I am God, but simultaneously I'm like, I don't trust God to take care of me when I need them to.
Wow.
And it's just like, oh, how do I live like in between these polarities, feeling both of them so deeply at the same fucking time?
You articulate that so well. We're the truth is, James and I are both living that. Are we living that? We're both living that. Exactly what you're saying. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for understanding me.
So of course I understand you. Yeah, of course I understand you. It's like we're both doing that.
And it's just like, how do you be with that? Well, like constantly trying not to like live in that I have to fix myself because I'm already whole and perfect all the time, and the universe always provides in different packages, even though they don't look like anything like the package that you want it to come in. or
that you thought it was going to come in.
Exactly.
Yeah, it always, we imagine it's going to show up, in a limousine, in a, with a gold encrusted box with $100 bills.
Exactly. It's like, you're doing the thing. Congratulations. Here's rent for the next 12 months. Instead, it's just like, oh, here's another breakdown that you're going to learn so much from, that's going to help you like accelerate your journey tenfold. I'm like, I didn't want another breakdown. I wanted the financial assistance. Yeah. That's what's brought me to quit my job, because I kept getting such intense intuitive guidance that it's like, if you want to fulfill your life purpose full time, it's like, prove that you're ready to stop living in scarcity and finding your worth through doing, by quitting with no savings, no backup, no one to support you, and fully trusting and living in the other polarity that you really are God.
Wow. And
then you'll start attracting a reality that matches the vibration of I am God. Because then everything is in synergy and syncing up and aligning, versus like going over here and then going over here, going over here, attracting shit from the fear and attracting shit from the God side.
Can I just want to share something. So this idea of I am God, for me, in my 12-step world, there's a line that says God either is or he isn't. Either he's everything or he's nothing. And if he's everything, then he is you. She is you, it is you, and sometimes people misunderstand us when we say I am God. But we're also saying that you are God, and that you are God, and that the trees are God. And that this is God's. We're in
playing field.
We're in it.
Arena, yeah.
We're in it, and it's interesting because our perception, of vision, is like here, and we do a little ayahuasca, and it's like, oh, this is God. I am the same as the table. I am and we have a whole other perception as a result of a little enhancement, and we recognize it. Oh, so, and my thoughts have power. My thoughts are things, and if I'm in fear, I create what I'm fearing. It sets in motion. And if I'm in faith and belief, and wow. So you're teaching this.
Just basically teaching the responsibility of being.
Wow.
And how you are as intense repercussions.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that we came here, because this is something that I want to hugely support you in and carrying this message. Now, your voice, by the way, when you're saying your message, is like you're clear and concise and powerful, you know, and then you drop out of it a bit, right? Into, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Because you have a, like when you're speaking this thing, you have a, like I'm like, wow, right? And then there's this little girl that comes out, you know, that's like, oh, you're talking to me?
Me?
Yeah. But you're like this, you have this, you know, strength, you know, of your, not just a conviction, but you're of knowingness, you know. Like I said, is conviction, isn't it? You know, you
Reverence.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. You also got it. But obviously.
So it's pretty cool, you know. And so how do we take this then? Or maybe it isn't up to us to take it. Maybe it's just us to trust that we are on the road. I mean, I was going to say, how do we take this and you know, and actually, you know, where I get caught up sometimes is, you know, geez, rent's due next week. And we're not even fucking there. Mm-hmm. We're not even close to there. It's like not tomorrow. But anyway, right? And then the doubts and fears can trickle in, and you know, so you help with, you have an affirmation practice, a chanting practice, to help you to stay
centered,
in alignment. You do?
I do.
Yes.
Yes, because like I struggle with that a lot. I mean, I think we all struggle with that as humans, but like my son is on the Virgo Libra cusp, but like Virgo, like the shadow side of Virgo, I believe like we are reincarnated in a specific sun sign to transcend the shadows of that sign in this lifetime. And with Virgo, it's intense neurosis and perfectionism. So I
Are
really...
you Virgo?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What date?
22nd, so the cusp between the two. What about you?
I'm the 18th.
Oh my God! So you know the struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, we can choose to subscribe to it, but I really feel it sometimes.
I
And
have two sons that are Virgos as well. Both my boys are
holy
Virgos.
moly, ain't that a trip?
I don't know that much about Virgo. That, you know, I don't know much about astrology. I really don't. You know, and maybe if I do, you know, sometimes understanding is the booby price. Understanding keeps us out of the moment, you know, because we're in our head with our understanding, and we're trying to, you know, we think we know through our understanding how things are going to be, so I'm careful to recognize that a lot of what we talk about is story. It's not really the truth in this moment. Or maybe it does affect the moment, but me knowing about it doesn't really matter. Or maybe it does, I don't know.
I feel you hardcore on that, because like lately I'm just like, Teal Swan said, it's like the chase for constantly knowing and certainty is so detrimental, because like questions only lead to more questions. And you know what I mean? We're constantly on the same hamster wheel of like question knowing, but it gets us basically nowhere, because we're constantly like scrambling for answers outside of ourselves, for one.
Yeah.
And then thinking that we really understand and know something when we really never know anything. So it's just like a head trip that serves nothing.
Yeah. Mental masturbation. Right? It just is. We're just like, you know, and people write books, you know, phenomenal books of story to explain life, you know, but then there's some of, you know, some amazing authors that like Eckhart Tolle and Dr. David Hawkins and you know, who talk about, you know, being here now. What's your guy, the surrender experiment guy? Michael Singer. Have you heard of the surrender experiment? You know, he basically writes a book about his whole life being, somehow he figured out that all he had to do was continually surrender.
Living it so hard right now.
I know.
How can we surrender deeper? Go with the flow. Stop attaching yourself to outcomes, expectations, blah blah blah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you surrendered. I mean, you didn't really know James, and you let us come into your house and just come and do this. Then that's ballsy. That's pretty cool. And
Thank God you're not serial killers. Just kidding. I felt you. You were good shit, I think.
Yeah. But surrender, it's not a theory. It's a practice, right?
Every moment.
Yeah. And so in my mind, the mind says, yeah, but you're going to end up pushing a shopping cart on the street. And, right? You've had that. Yeah. That's me and the bag lady. And you and I can be there together.
Can we? I'm down for that.
Yeah, we'll find a garage to sleep in. Anyway, and then I just say to myself, so what if it? If that's the way it is, if that's where I'm in, if that's what it takes to get me to absolute surrender, then bring it on. Can't believe I just said that.
I'm there with you.
I can't believe I just said it, but whatever it takes to stop, trying to run the show.
That's devotion. Yeah. Devotion to spirit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel emotion with my devotion.
Faith to hope and then as well. Mm-hmm. All comes together.
Anyway.
I wish it felt as pretty and light as that sounds.
Yeah, and I don't know about the word hope. I don't. I think that hope is kind of like it presumes something, like that we know where we should be, that we're bargaining, and I don't know about the word hope. I think at a certain level, and in the consciousness chart, if you will, or the consciousness, I think hope is important. I think like forgiveness, how I feel about that word. And I think, but at a certain level, though, forgiveness has value. And then as we get to a place where we see that everything is for us, then there's nothing to forgive. If everything is for us, it's
a thank you.
It's a thank you. Yeah, it's not a forgiveness. But in the lower levels of consciousness, forgiveness is important because we get hooked on anger and victim and and so we look at whoever it is that's in our life and we say we get that they were doing the best they could and we forgive them. But I think as we climb into unconditional love and we see it was for us.
And that no one exists outside of ourselves, so they're just like a mirror
that
we created.
Tell us about that. Nobody exists outside of yourself. Tell us about that, because I don't know how to explain that. Do you?
I don't know. I'm gonna do my best. It's a very abstract concept, right?
It is, yeah.
But if we think about all those theories about how the only things that exist are just shit that we shape from our own perception and our own background and our own experience. I don't know how to make this make sense in a 10-second spiel, but we're constantly kind of in basic psychology, how Carl Jung says that we walk around with blinders on, only seeing shit that reaffirms our own beliefs about ourselves and the world.
Yes.
On a soul level, I feel we're constantly just walking around to see people and experiences that are here to serve our evolution in one way or another. So every situation and every person that shows up is just a divine mirror to show us a wounded aspect of ourselves or an elevated part of our consciousness that's being expressed.
Yes.
And so basically without us here projecting a specific situation or person into our reality, they wouldn't even exist. Because everything here is to serve us, kind of like you said, it's everyone's sole role is just to serve us and help us evolve. Mm-hmm. So that, it goes off that same theory that if we weren't needing to evolve in one point or another within ourselves, we wouldn't even have this person in our reality. Mm-hmm. And then when we close our eyes, nothing is there. Mm-hmm. That same thing, but in a way bigger expression. Mm-hmm. If we're not processing all of this through our own consciousness and awareness and psychology and experience, then nothing actually exists.
So then only our meaning-making machine exists? Ego
and spirit, having a conversation all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. I love that one quote in Kundalini Yoga. It's the purpose of one purpose in life is to make the mind serve the soul instead of the ego. So using the mind as a tool, using the intellect to help us conceptualize, understand, make it grounded and tangible, and something that we can actually fucking deal with as a human, while simultaneously constantly working from a soul level understanding that like none of this is actually real. Like kind of having that back and forth. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. I mean, because I know I've had glimpses of awakening moments, and when everything actually changes shape and form, and I've had those moments, and so which is true, maybe they're both true, but if I'm living in a denser vibration, and then everything's in a dense vibration. When I'm in a heightened vibration, everything is almost fractal. Fractal. And so in the fractal world, my thought can move things, can create things. So yes, we've created this, but we haven't created it with conscious thought. I think we've created it with unconscious thought,
the subconscious thoughts,
and then there's the collective creating as well.
Yep.
And which has created community and a world, and stop signs and courthouses and all, so we live in this collective consciousness. So it isn't just that we created it with our singular consciousness, unless of course all consciousness is one.
So many forces at play to consider.
And if all consciousness are one, then yes, we are that consciousness, and there isn't separateness from James's soul and your soul and my soul. We're all.
And that's why the shift or
one
the
soul.
New Earth is happening, because there's so many people on that same creation.
Excuse me.
Part of that creation, so it's now creating something new. It's evolving into something else than what it was before, is because that's just that part of creation, that oneness of what's happening.
So does that mean something?
No, it's just happening.
Okay.
It just is.
Or like creating momentum.
Well, it's creating momentum, but that's also part of the process.
But isn't I mean, when we put an adjective with it, isn't it us trying to imagine we know what's happening?
Too real. Yep.
Right? It's like taking a snowball,
It's
pushing
tricky.
it down the hill.
Isn't it tricky? It's very tricky.
And it's growing. And
Yeah.
that snowball just keeps building and building and building and building. And maybe it'll explode, and then whatever will happen to that, or it'll just keep building.
Big Bang?
Big Bang, who knows? Right? It's
Wow.
happening.
So you have some clients. Stuff's happening. How do people get in touch with you? I mean, what do they come to your home and you do counseling?
Skype.
All Skype?
All virtual.
Oh wow! And were you able to set that up outside? Like you got it all put together online?
Right now I'm just getting my workshop, my website redone, so it's kind of been tricky with like offering packages and my services lately, but I've also been taking it really slow, trying to prime myself for the transition and that leap that I just made.
Prime, you're already done. You're in.
I know, but I'm still,
How much priming do we
resolving
need?
other shit.
Yes.
To be honest, it's
Yeah.
it's very big for me, but
Yes.
I guess like through my Facebook page and then through workshops, people usually like, oh wow, I really resonated with what you spoke to, and then I'm like, yeah, I do this kind of work in a hand-holding fashion. So like you can learn the theory and the concepts here, but then I can take you deeper in one-on-one sessions, because usually when you are doing shadow work or like different kinds of light work on yourself to resolve your deepest core patterns and trauma and subconscious beliefs, like usually the ego will like give you a crap ton of resistance to even going there by yourself. And usually we want to go deep into the subconscious mind, which usually needs to get there like a state of hypnosis.
So
helps.
you do hypnosis?
Very like, I never studied it like professionally. It's very minor, but I just help you get into that theta state where the magic happens.
Yes.
And then help people start unpacking and getting actually start to see the memories that created those initial beliefs. Like take them back to the trauma that they disassociated from initially, to see what happened there and to move through it again, to experience it fully, so they can return to wholeness and integrate that experience, and then find what kind of beliefs they created there, and what kind of stories they created around it if they still remember it, and then help them like cope, allow, accept, integrate. So that's rewired in their subconscious mind, so their external reality can start reflecting a different reality based on the beliefs that they shifted.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, it does. And I think, though, most of what we've talked about is not about rearranging that stuff.
Right.
But most of what we've talked about is about being here now, and that stuff falls away. And you know what I mean? It just, as the closer we get to the light, the less of the dense things that we, they're just not there anymore.
But I also feel like while we are practicing presence and getting to a place where we can be aligned with God moment to moment, we need to help us stop being so cemented in those subconscious beliefs that do keep us spiraling.
Okay, so a bit of both.
Forms.
So you're helping folks break loose some of the ties that have them held in place in their old ideas of who they are.
Yes, and what the world is.
And what the world is. And at the same time, though, you're teaching some meditation or some ways for them to connect with higher power or God or universal intelligence or the one.
Yes, and especially Kundalini Yoga is so effective because not only are we healing the subconscious mind, we're also releasing the trauma and the experiences that we hold so deeply in ourselves, because like we lock trauma into our body. It's like a somatic thing, right? So we can use the yoga to not only heal the mind and rewire the subconscious brain, but we also start unlocking and releasing the painful memories and like experiences that we've locked into our central nervous system and cells.
Do you do any body work?
Like in my one-on-one sessions, I do like energy work, but I don't touch anybody. So
sometimes they need touch.
Oh no, I'm all for touch. It's just not my thing. You can touch me though, if you're special enough. Massage is great.
Oh, you're beautiful. Isn't she? Yeah. Well, I think that's great. Are you going to do some workshops?
Yeah, I have one coming up on December 17th or the 15th, whichever one's the Monday. I'm going to do more shadow work and Kundalini Yoga and how the two practices are super great at using together or working with together. Yeah. Then I'm doing a ceremony on the Gemini full moon with one of my partners, Denise. She's super into astrology and that kind of work. So
what kind of ceremony?
Probably, first tending to what Gemini is all about, the shadow and the light, and how we can invoke more of that energy through Gemini season and make it serve us, and then also help us release any kind of aspects that we express related to the shadow of Gemini, and then probably more stuff to like invoke spirit within us. It's always there, but I guess help us reconnect to the feeling of being connected.
Because what we'd like, I mean, yes, we're always connected, but we'd like to have more of a conscious connection. Is that right? You know, I mean, we can't not be connected because it's all God, and yet somehow we have this huge sense of separation, and we fall into the all the stuff with that, the loneliness, the fear, the feeling side of separation. and so through different practices, there's the possibility, and I think meditation and prayer are both, and service, of course. I think service of others is a huge practice for bringing us into a conscious connection. Love. Love is the connection, and with that universal intelligence, with the moment, right? I love that. This comes out when something, I think, really kind of profound, when people say something. And we went to a movie last night, the movie called Becoming Nobody. you know, because somebody is, you know, our whole conditioning was to be somebody, right? And that's why you went to school, so you could be somebody. For Christ's sake, be somebody. Pull your socks up, right? And we got all that conditioning to try to be somebody, right? You know that so well. And now we're learning how to be nobody.
That's like the biggest work that I actually do for myself, and that I hope to like help people with, is conscious disidentification. Because like we take on so many identities, so many roles, so many self-perceptions as we grow and evolve, obviously, like, and be constantly trying to become somebody different, and then take on different personalities, and then realize like, why am I so attached to so many different identities and personalities that I've taken on, and like, are any of them even serving me?
It's come to me, this doesn't happen very often, but I think it's time for you to have a new name.
I have a second name. What kind of new name?
Like a new name, like a, you know, I mean, we're so identified with Maryna. Is that it? Yeah, and we have a whole, you know, our conscious or unconscious mind has a whole story about that name, and you know, and how it's connected to Aunt so-and-so, because we were named after Aunt so-and-so, and you know, and she died in the war, and all, you know, and that's all, our names are really connected to a story. And that's why lots of spiritual teachers give their devotees a name.
I do have a Kundalini name that was given to me through initiation to become an Aquarian teacher, which I use for my workshops, and so that gets channeled for you.
What's your name?
Ravi Gopal Kaur.
Nice.
So it means like the lioness who embodies the sustaining and supportive energy of the sun, or the divine.
Nice. Say again.
Okay.
Ravi
Gopal Kaur.
Gopal. Well, I mean, Gopal is, we sing Gopal. Yes.
There's a beautiful, mantra in Kundalini too, like, because in Kundalini we use the language of Gurmukh, right? Instead of Sanskrit. It's just like another vibrational language, but it's also like the language of spirit. And
sung a lot of Gopal. Do you love, I love kirtan.
I chant every day.
No way. Yeah, I love kirtan.
Yeah, I love kirtan too.
Yeah. So, do you use your name sometimes? Do you introduce yourself by that name?
In Kundalini, yes.
Yes.
But not everywhere else.
But can you see, because you said, you know, I mean, it's our identification that holds us in the old place, and the old story about who we are, and you know, all the breakups and all the...
Sorry, I'm just going to turn this off.
All that kind of stuff. Hi.
Oh no, it was my alarm.
Was it?
Yeah, keep going.
Do you have to be on a call or anything?
No.
Okay. So I've been thinking a lot about this recently, that, you know, taking another name. I took another name at 40.
Oh, what was it?
Well, David.
Oh, okay, David.
And it was before, up until I was 40, I had been Keith. That was my name, and it just it doesn't even roll off my tongue anymore. It's like this person, I have no idea who that person was, you know, and I took David. David was actually my first name. Keith was my middle name, and it was like, oh, and it fit. I liked it, and you know, but it doesn't have a lot of association with my old family and all of that, and it was a nice thing. I could maybe I might look at another name for David as well. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. But names do hold us in a place, don't they?
Yep, in a specific consciousness. And like, I love in Kundalini Yoga, when you are given that name, they tell you meditate on your name as a practice in itself. So you can live from that name, from that state of consciousness, from what, like, because, your name is
Ravi
Gopal Kaur. Because all women's Kundalini names or Sikh names end with Kaur, so it's like goddess / lioness.
Yeah, and Ravi, of course, is God as well. Isn't it?
I can't remember which word means what, but there's God in there.
Ravi,
yes.
Yeah, Ravi is, I think, is quite godly. And we'll look up. Like, I was going to go to my phone and ask Siri.
I haven't even used Siri before. I'm
Siri
so
has
behind with the times.
All the magic in Siri. Well, so we're going to. Yeah. Do you have a website we can post on here?
Yes, I have a landing page. You can subscribe to my mailing list, and you'll get a notification when the full website is up, because it's just being redone. Will be done in 2-3 weeks. Otherwise, my Ananda School of Ascension page
Mhm.
on Facebook
Mhm.
would be the best place to
Mhm.
find me.
Ananda.
Ananda, yep.
Yes.
So,
So did you read Autobiography of Yogi?
no, I haven't.
You'll love it. I have lots of books for you. So thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for for everything you shared. I needed to hear all that again,
Well,
all the time.
we all need to, and that's why community is so important, especially when we're talking about these kind of things, I think it's important that we share with each other and help each other to stay awake or to awaken, yeah, that's the job. And
How can I be of more service to you?
yes. You, really?
Yeah.
I'd love to have a session.
Okay, that
Yeah.
would be awesome.
I'd love to have a session. I'd love to, to experience what you do, and often I'll trade sessions. I have a thing I do,
Okay, yeah.
but it's really more about helping people to practice consciousness, and so when I sit with somebody and they tell me what's happening in their life, and if there's a commitment for them to be more conscious, and it's a clear question that I ask, are you interested in having things shift through consciousness? And if the answer is yes, then, well, as you know, it can be a struggle.
That's a nice word to put it.
Do we have to stop? Yeah, okay, we got to stop. All right, love you.
Love you. Thank you. And I love
Yeah.
that question. Holy shit. That's a great question to
Which
ask
one?
people about
Yeah.
how committed are you to
Yeah, well,
have
sure.
a shift in consciousness.
If we're not asking the question, then what are we doing? And when they say yes, then we can always come back to that yes later when they're saying, well, yeah, I didn't mean this, or I didn't want to look there. I thought you said you were interested in consciousness. We're going here because you asked for this.
Their own declaration is so powerful
Yes.
in itself.
Yeah.
It's a light switch.
Nice.
Thank
Thanks so
you
much.
Much love.
Thank you. So you guys, just one more thing. YouTube. We are on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube and share this and have questions.
And we're going to be at Owen's event on
Well, we're going to be where?
the Spirit and Soul Fair.
Oh, we're at a fair on Sunday. We have a little open house at the house, but that's a whole other thing. But we're also, James and a friend are going to be at a fair selling some of the stuff from Valley and Beyond days at the Glenmorgan Community Association. And then Monday nights I have the meditation, you guys. If somebody's still watching after all this time.
What
We have
time is it at?
Meditation on Monday nights at 7
Where is that?
at the Scarborough United Church.
Oh, okay.
Do you know where that is?
Kind of by Sonelta?
Yes, yeah. 7 o'clock, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. But yeah, so come visit us there. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you. Bye.